Greetings. Greetings, dear ones, and welcome to another episode. There we are. Greetings, dear ones, and welcome to another episode of Ancient Future Wisdom. That name came a long time ago when I was teaching a workshop, and people were asking questions, and it sparked a conversation between and among everyone there. And it really became evident to them, and it has been a long time my perspective, that ancient knowledge or ancient wisdom through indigenous cultures, ancient cultures, is still very vibrant and vital and necessary in our world today. And yet, the science and cutting edge breakthroughs that are being made in all disciplines is also something that not only we must take into account when we're creating certainly policies and how to move forward with things that greatly challenge many of our dogma, our our old belief systems, as well as morally questions are coming up as we have the ability to clone, or as we have more ability to combine AI and humans. What are we morally going to do with those possibilities? And if we are not at a level of consciousness and awareness, self-awareness and growth as a species, then it's going to become very challenging to incorporate those new technologies, and they may, just as they have been for quite some time now, be suppressed or be derided or made ridiculous or undermine its validity and truth. And it's very, very powerful in that each one of us truly do play a role in that. It isn't just for someone else to decide, governments, leaders, scientists. It is our choice, our decision. But when we are out of touch with the rhythms and the cycles and the ways in which all that is alive on this planet interact, we're doing it from a very small, narrow perspective. We're making those decisions. And that is contrary to the evolutionary leap that we are moving forward with, perhaps kicking and screaming in some ways, but it is happening. I was struck by a quote, or a line from an article in one of the science magazines I read on a regular basis. And the quote comes from the author of the article is Brandon Spector, and most of these journalists are science journalists in that they have a science background or are scientists themselves. And he says, I quote, "The universe is an endless expanse of mystery, majesty, and mind-blowing spectacle." And that is absolutely true. And the more we are aware of it in our daily lives, and how that majesty and that mystery are involved in our day-to-day choices, then we are participating in that majesty and that spectacle and that mystery. Another article that came across my desk this past week was about a novelist. I don't have his first name, but his last name is Powers, and he's again, I think his background was as a scientist, and he began writing novels about scientists and their individual lives, purely, nonfiction. I'm sorry, purely fiction. But he has come in later years to be in such a relationship with the forest and with trees that his new book encompasses so many of the challenges and questions that we have, and yet does so from a beautiful storyline of a father and son and their difference in perspective given their different generation. And one of the things he mentions to the interviewer is, he says, how did we get so estranged and alienated from everything else that's alive on this planet? And that is causing us great distress and great difficulty, whether we acknowledge it or not, whether we're aware of it or not. I posted an article, I think it was yesterday, about a practice done by the natives of the Faroe Islands and have been doing for centuries, and that is a hunting and killing of porpoises, a certain type of dolphin, for eating purposes, and again, not wasting anything, making things out of their bodies. But the size of the pod that they massacred, basically, was literally mind-boggling, even to those who acknowledge and approve of this hunt to continue their tradition. And when I posted the article, well, first of all, when I read it, of course, it shook me to the core, because I've always had a very deep connection to dolphins, as many of you have, I'm sure. And then, after I moved through the human reactions, then I was able to sit in a wider place and receive information about why such a thing could happen. And when I posted it, I made pointedly the fact that anything that occurs, whether it is destructive, constructive, negative, positive, however you want to classify it, is an opportunity to learn more about ourselves and to learn how to give us opportunities for that choice that I was referring, for choices. And dolphins teach us about the breath, about joy and playfulness, but truly about how vital that breath is and the rhythms of our breathing. And with so much going on, so much pulling us in different directions, so much painful, so much confusing, so much that is overwhelming, the tendency is to shut it out. The tendency is to glancingly feel it, and when we tap into any of that pain or anger or any of the considered negative emotions, we move away from it. We ameliorate it. We, in some way, able to kind of switch the perspective like a kaleidoscope enough to be able to live with it, but at the same time move very, very quickly into a non-feeling or numb place. And with so much going on, we have a tendency to do that. And Yet what I've found over years and years and years of teaching and working with clients is that when we enable ourselves to explore that negative, hurtful, infuriating emotion, we are able to trace back where we experienced that dynamic, for example, and when it's transformed or even potentially transmuted, which is a much deeper level, then we are literally shifting the way in which the species has lived and has explored this planet from a very primitive, very basic form of duality. And as we are evolving, we're moving into a much higher level of duality, a much more sophisticated level of duality, but still duality, because that is the name of the game in this universe, at least. But unless we explore, unless we are willing to take the step, take the courageous step to feel into what is painful or infuriating or scary, then there is no growth. We're constantly just soothing or medicating or finding ways to adjust or tolerate rather than actual change. So one of the cards I pulled this morning, which is from a rare deck. I don't generally pull from that deck, but it was about about courage. And for me, there is no greater bravery than to look within. We can look without, we can condemn what's going on, we can be angry about it, we can drop deep into sorrow about it, but it doesn't change anything until and unless we explore our own experience of that sorrow and fury or pain or fear. And in the individual's change, it changes the whole. So when we look at this apparently horrific, and it is horrific, number of deaths of another living being on the planet, or beings on the planet, the response from everyone that saw that or spoke to me about it was horror and pain, and needed to shut it down very quickly. Excuse me. And yet I'm inviting everyone to find out in your own life where perhaps you were hurt or harmed, or your life was disregarded without truly considering, without truly seeing you, without truly taking your beingness into account. And when you can feel into your own experience about that and are able to grow from it, then the sensitivity, the overall sensitivity of people, of the human race, will have been affected, will have been adjusted, will have been upgraded. It's very, very difficult to acknowledge the dark and its purposefulness and excuse me, right to be fulfilled, and its significance in our world. Strangely enough, or not strangely enough, what, again, a lot of the articles that were coming across my desk, science articles, were about the discovery, another view or another ability to learn about dark energy. And in our universe, everything that we see or know about, from blades of grass to superclusters of galaxies, only make up approximately 5% of the universe. Dark matter makes up about 27%. And there are definitions, and you can explore those definitions of what dark matter is. But it is basically an invisible force that holds the galaxies and the cosmic web together. And then there is dark energy that still remains a mystery, but we're discovering more and more about it. And from what we've observed, its gravitational effect is repulsive. It pulls apart, pulls things away from each other. And as a result, it is a very vital part of our universe. And that's the great gift of exploration and self-knowing, is that you find that which appears dark, that which appears terrifying within us, is actually the experience of a child who had no control or power and was utterly trapped within that situation. We continue to feel this way, and yet, with more and more knowledge, not just about the outside world, not about technology, not about the many things that make up this planet, which is wonderful, but unless and until we are discovering that level within us, we are unable to make the change that we want to see in the world. Of course, Gandhi's famous quote, "Be the change," but that means knowing who you are and who you are not, and that means exploring within. I mentioned last week how synchronistic the Star Trek episodes I came across that day, or not came across, that were brought to me is a better way of saying it. And in it, one of the characters says, does that mean that space, time, and thought are not the separate things that they appear to be? And that's what science is coming, again, many different disciplines are coming to the conclusion that this universe, that all we know, is an creation of our consciousness, and that consciousness can therefore change that reality. And again, looking at our own rhythms, our own lives, when we get scared or are upset or angry, we tend to hold our breath and stop the movement of life through our bodies and through our energy fields in an attempt to ward it off, in an attempt to protect ourselves. And yet that arose from, again, the child's position. We do have the ability to do something about it. We do have, and not just behaviorally and cognitively, but when we find the true soul purpose of that traumatic or wounding experience in our own lives, we are able to change not just our perspective on it, but change materially in our physical and energetic bodies the result of that trauma or that wound, so that it not only it ceases to continue in our lives, manifesting through us in our lives, but in fact it was an opportunity that we designed in order to become, or in order to express, an aspect of our core. So the dark is a great teacher. I know that is very challenging for everyone to really take in and embrace, because the natural tendency is to push anything negative or dark or destructive away. It is our automatic response. But I invite you to allow yourself to drop down deep within yourself, as we're going to do in a few moments, and allow your unconscious, subconscious, and beyond conscious, which I refer to or invite people to speak of as their body, their energy field, their wider self, which is their soul self, and their spiritual helpers, team, cooperative, whatever you view it as. And as you do so, information will come in a very, very different way than typically exploring through the mind or wider mind and going through the third eye, because there are still restrictions on that framework. Most often than not, it is an exploration in the electromagnetic field of this plane and beyond. And there are many other forces, many other energetics that make up this universe. Not just the electromagnetic and magnetic and electrical grids and energetics that we are aware of here, but light and space and sound and rhythm and pulse. These are all energetics, universal energetics, that make up not only this reality, but realities within this planet. And we'll talk about that a little bit another day. But the point is that there is much more that makes up this reality existence that we live in than we are generally aware of. And it is in that inner exploration that you're able to connect with and resonate with, to be able to find out more of who you are. For example, I have a client who is deeply connected as a nature spirit. She literally is aware of and is learning how to commune with and even kind of phase into being a nature spirit within nature. So much so that she related to me this week that she was out exploring and communing with nature, and she was sitting quietly, but she so became a part of that environment that both a lady and her dog, which dogs are very, very sensitive, very aware. They have, of course, as we all know, much greater ability to sense through their nose and their hearing. And yet the dog and the lady walked right by her within a matter of a couple feet. This is her level of connection to her other existences as a nature spirit, having a human experience. So we're not just merely spiritual beings having a human experience, but instead a wide and vast variety of beings choosing to use this physical human vessel as a means of exploration. And the more we explore internally, the more we are able to design externally how we want this reality to be, not only for us individually, but collectively. And the amazing thing is that each individual's deep desire to see this world in their way, all blends and interconnects through that cosmic web that I mentioned on a quantum basis. So there is a particular energetic called quantum that allows for that millions and millions and millions of varieties of experience that each soul has chosen to have here, whether visible or invisible. There's many, many beings that are here invisible to us at this moment, until such time as we come to have the knowledge or the technological ability, or until such time as they choose to reveal themselves. We experience that throughout history, whether it was Greek gods who were visitors here for a period of time, having superior abilities and knowledge and access to technology, or whether it is different fairy kingdoms who are here concurrently, but it is a question of shifting from our dimension into another, either dimension or world or realm. When you have a deep, deep, deep knowledge of who you are able to more easily shift yourself from this reality into a reality that you have recently come from, or a reality that you have chosen to bring its knowledge and wisdom onto the planet at this time. I know those are large concepts, but somewhere deep inside you know, whether you are connected, for example, to undersea kingdoms, whether mermaids or different life forms within the oceans and waters of the planet, whether you have fairy connections. These are sensations that you've had since you were very young. And we come in with that ability to still communicate and connect and receive information. But little by little, that's shut down out of fear, or again, we as a society supposedly have outgrown that, when in fact it has created that disconnect, that alienation and estrangement that I mentioned of the author, Powers. There were times throughout history where we were still engaged with and having back and forth learning and interchange between and among other types of beings than just human. And we all know deep down inside, in those quiet little moments, that we are something other than simply this human form. And again, not just in a wide spiritual way, but specific way. And I really invite you to open up to your team, your helpers, to bring you different means of exploring. Again, interestingly enough, Apollo kept coming to me this week to create more information, or to transmit information. And so as I sat deeply and invited his being, his knowledge, his representation to come to me, again, beautiful Star Trek. I know there's a connection, a deep connection that I've always had there. Sat down to grab a bite to eat, finally, after a long day at 8 o'clock in the evening, turned on Star Trek, and sure enough, the episode was Who Mourns for Adonis, which is about Apollo having come to this planet and lived along with all the other Greek gods, and then left when we no longer felt the need for that level of protection and or control in many ways. In the episode, they say, or Kirk says, we outgrew you. But at the same time, there is a loss of relationship there. And everything that you kind of suspect may be real, whether you see it in a fantasy movie or book or myth or legend or storytelling through all the different ancient cultures and indigenous tribes. Our knowledge does not dismiss the fact that there is other beings having an experience along with us, in conjunction with us, in cooperation with us, and that we have the ability to communicate and learn from and learn through. Those of you who listen to other types of channeling over the years, people channeling Jesus or Mary or other beings, there isn't any reason to disbelieve that that communication can continue, and that you yourself have the ability to communicate with your wider self, be that multiple other existences or one existence in particular, and or beings from other worlds, other realms, to assist you, to guide you, to learn and teach one another. We aren't the only ones learning in this process. So I invite you to allow that which is considered dark or negative or bad to truly be an opportunity to explore an aspect of yourself. Just as I mentioned earlier, the killing of a very, very large pod of dolphins not only makes us aware of such occurrences, but an exploration into your own breathing, your own rhythms, your own way of interacting with others. When you study the dolphin and all that they experience, just simply on a mammalian level, much less what they've represented symbolically throughout history into many different cultures. But again, if you choose to take it another step deeper, then to explore where you experienced, possibly even now are experiencing, someone causing harm or hurt physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, or energetically, without thought, without taking you and your situation, your feelings, your way of being into account, without considering how that action would cause you pain or harm. And when you explore that, you're able to find out the pattern from long ago, which sets up that possibility and that potential for another to treat you in that way. And as you discover this piece and transform it, you are then no longer able to allow that to occur. and you make choices based on your own care and regard and concern and consideration for yourself, out of love for yourself. Be that person a family member, a spouse, a boss, a coworker, you then are able to make that choice from clarity and awareness and consciousness. So, as difficult as it may be, try not to shut out the painful, the infuriating, the scary, but instead allow it to be your teacher. Allow it to be your guide. Your emotions are what makes you human and why you came to this planet with this form to explore. So without further ado, I invite you to really, and the energetics have been coming in for the past 10 minutes or so, creating this amazing container that holds everyone that even peeks in for a moment or stays for a longer period to reflect and drop in, or those who listen to this at a later point in time. Remember, space and time and thought are not the separate things that they appear to be. And all of those that I've mentioned, the beings, those that have come forward this week, the what's referred to as the right-handed masters, which is more of the positive or light-based teachers, or whether it's the left-handed masters, the masters that teach through dark and destruction and negativity. All is one. I have been gearing all of my work, my teachings, to enable those that encounter this work to come to what I refer to as mutual duality. Meaning it is not duality, which is completely polar opposites, or non-duality, which is beautiful and incurs a third possibility where both parties win, but instead mutual duality, where both are embraced, all is embraced as part of the oneness, as part of this cosmic web, as part of an eternal exploration. So allowing all those energetics to be here within this container, nothing you need do, nothing you need focus on, nothing you need hold, nothing you need intend, but instead allowing all those parts of you that are coming forward at this point in time, all of those aspects of our planet, of our culture that are being revealed, brought forth, causing us, sparking us, catalyzing us to feel our emotions, to feel ourselves, to feel our bodies, our energy fields, to feel our internal world revealing our other existences, our other forms of ourself. and the knowledge, skills, and abilities therein. So I'm not even focusing on the words that I say, simply allowing my voice to be a transmitter of those energies, those energetics that are exactly right for you at this time, that are presenting themselves in our reality, that are presenting themselves to you in your life, in your personal interactions, in your community, in your culture, in your nation. Globally, everything that touches you, everything that sparks you, everything that draws your attention is an opportunity, is a teaching, is an avenue for you to know thyself. And allowing yourself to settle down into your body, I invite you, if you like, to take some breaths purposefully and consciously, noticing how it feels to breathe with purpose, on purpose. Following that most vital of all things to life on this planet: oxygen, the breath. That which dolphins represent, the breathing patterns or breathing rhythms, the way we hold our breath, the shallow breath that generally we experience throughout the day and even at night when we sleep. Turning down the volume of life force that can run and course through us in an attempt to protect from that which is painful and scary and infuriating. But you came here on purpose with a grand design, a grand design by and from and through your soul. For a very particular experience. And you chose this particular time for its potentials, for its opportunities, for this amazing breakthrough moment in human history. Not merely a chance of a lifetime, but a chance of an eon, that all things would align, creating the possibility of evolution in and through the physical experience of the human species. I invite you to ask and allow your body. I invite you to ask and allow your energy field. To ask and allow your wider soul self. To ask and allow your guides and teachers and masters. Beings throughout history. Your ancestors. To join you, communicate with you, connect with you, cooperate with you, collaborate with you, commune with you. Allowing that communication, those symbols and metaphors and signs and means of communication based in your library, your internal bank of knowledge, which includes everything that you have experienced, consciously and unconsciously, in your time here on the planet. In days of old, signs of nature and animals and weather and plants and the soil itself would be our guides. But now that information comes through perhaps the nature around us, but through now electronic means, computers, television, the internet, opening us to worldwide information, which is why the story of the dolphins being hunted and killed is able to come to you. You wouldn't otherwise even know about it. But it is an opportunity to learn, to widen, to grow, to become more of who you are. It is not easy to feel into our human emotions, particularly those that are painful or scary or infuriating or sorrow-filled. And yet, they may be our greatest teacher. The very avenues by which we are able to delve deep into not only our personal experience, but that of the species itself. while many are appalled at what occurred, many others merely see animals as things or resources which we have every right to do with as we will. But as we come to know and value ourselves, we come to know and value each and every living thing. Transforming that estrangement and alienation that the author spoke of. To every other living thing. And as you allow your energy field in your wider self to drop you even deeper in to your inner verse, you may experience on a deep, visceral, physical, energetic basis this unity, this oneness, this great cosmic web. Recognizing and acknowledging the sentience and consciousness of everything. Physical and non-physical, that can be experienced on this most exceptional of planets. Allow yourself to drop down inside, beyond the brain's limited abilities. For in this internal universe, everything is real. Feel yourself being led and guided, not through your third eye, but down and within, trusting your wider self, which is your soul self. And your energy field, which holds the vast accumulation of knowledge in your wide, wide exploration. Feel the serenity, the peace that comes from a felt sense of your own essence as an emanation of that one life, that one from this wider space. There is a remembrance of who you are. As an individuated expression of that oneness. And your free will choice to experience exactly what you have and are experiencing right now, at this time on this planet. Purposeful, knowingly, with the ability to design and redesign your life and this reality. Now once again, handing the trust to your wider self and energy field. To gently and in your own rhythm and timing move from what has been perhaps a less physical, more energetic or spiritual experience back to a more physical, human, earth, experience. Again, not pushing, not forcing, but organically allowing yourself to be guided and led by your wider self and your energy field, for it is in that in-between space that oftentimes a gift of a symbol or a sound or a shape or a song, storybook, legend, sensation in your body can allow you to remember that you are not confined by this time, space, framework. But instead can explore throughout the universe. By going to your inner verse, going through your body, your vessel, to the inner verse. And just a quick reminder, Monday the 20th is a full moon, or harvest moon, and it's very close to the equinox, which is on the 20th, so I will be doing a live, just bringing in the energetics of all that is occurring and allowing us to drop down deeply into an altered state where you can really take in and receive the energies that are available through this full moon and the equinox energies to heal, grow, learn, widen, deepen. And I'll post more about that over the next day or so. But it is a free event, although it does require registration, and I've been hearing that there are a couple things that the guides want you to gather to have with you on that night. So please contact me through direct message, and I will forward to you the items, or forward to you the list of items. Apparently it's going to be 3 or 4 items is what I'm hearing. So I'll have more information on that today. But please register, because it is going to be on Zoom. Possibly also going to be transmitted through to Facebook Live, but you won't be able to really participate and have the back and forth that is needed. So please register, and I will send you the Zoom link. And until then, or in any way else we come in contact, know that it is always with the deepest of honor, gratitude, and love for your presence here on the planet. Bye for now.